So, Prashant Singh, welcome to Sports Talk by Sports Paddock. I'll be your host for today. My name is Sunaina Devaya, and welcome.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to this chat, Sunaina.
Yes, great. So, we have a lot of questions, and we really like to know your story, your insights about various things. But the biggest story I would like to know, which really intrigued me, was your story about how you shifted from being a pilot to a football coach. What was this reason behind this?
Right. So I was in the US in 2007, 2008, and late 2009. I came back. So I was working in the US, then I was in Canada for some time. So after coming back to India, there is a procedure to, convert your American license and your Canadian license to Indian license. And that process is, very tedious. And there's a lot of paperwork. Nothing was online. So while and I'm really, I'm not that good in paperwork. So, that was taking a toll and I was struggling with the paperwork. And I think somewhere around 2000, as soon as I came back, Kingfisher Airline also shut. So what happened is because the Kingfisher Airline shut, and also because pilots are like, it's like a niche market again.
Correct.
So because the Kingfisher Airline shut, it was projected that, for the next 2 years, there will be no jobs for freshers, because all the other airlines which were expanding, Indigo and Spice and Go Air and all, they would just hire pilots who were already working with Kingfisher, because Kingfisher also had a considerable market share. So there were a lot of jobs that were going, and there were a lot of experienced pilots who were on an unemployed status. So they would of course get the priority over freshers. So that's when there was a 2 year slack. There were not going to be any jobs. So some of my friends started working with their fathers. Some of them started doing odd jobs. So that's when I realized, like, I anyway had a passion for football. And while my paperwork was going on, I was also training a few children within my own society, so then, that really started picking up, and aviation started coming down. And while I was still pursuing it until like 2014 and 15, but then I came to a point where aviation kept coming down and football kept going up. And then I came to a point where I had to decide which one. And then I thought I will go ahead with football, because aviation, after some point of time, it becomes very monotonous.
Oh,
So,
really? Okay.
and yeah. I mean, with autopilot, I mean, aviation, when you talk about all these scheduled airlines and all, so it becomes very monotonous after some point of time. I mean, there are pros and cons. So I thought football, that was something I was really passionate about. And I always had, I always had that dream that, I should have my own club and, own setup, and that my team would play in the I League or whichever is the top league. So that's when I decided, okay, I'll just go ahead with football. So yeah, I mean, Kingfisher Airlines was one of the major reasons.
Yeah, and
shutdown of Kingfisher Airlines.
It's interesting that you said that, because I mean, as you said, football picked up. It's very optimistic of you to look at football and it picking up and you swinging towards football, because you have the option of still going in for something like a corporate job or a government job, which would give you a better cushion, but still you took up football, like irrespective. And football still, and football coaching, that too, still isn't the most like well balanced or safest job in India right now. So despite all of that, you still took it up. Why? Is it because of a passion instinct, or did you have a goal, your Thane FC goal?
Yeah. So also, it was a very interesting time for sports in general, when I'm talking about 2012, 2013, because it was already projected, and that, sports is going to be the next big thing, and it still is. Because they say the future of entertainment is going to be sports. As of now, the entertainment source is Kaun Banega Karodpati and Bigg Boss and Splitsvilla and all that. But if you see, we are following the trend of what's happening in the US. And in the US, the whole family sits together and watches whatever, the Super Bowl, NBA. They are rooting for their own town, their own city. And now the sport in that country has reached the dining table, conversations within the family. So the future of entertainment, it also is going to be sports in India. Like what IPL was a big blueprint for all the other smaller sports. So that was already something that I had realized early on in 2013-ish. And this was before ISL and all. That time it was only I League. There was no ISL.
Okay.
So, but I knew that sports is going to be the next big thing. And also because while I was in the US, I used to play cricket over there. So,
Oh,
cricket like is a very small sport. Like, it doesn't even, I mean, more than half of the population doesn't even know something like cricket exists. So the way people in the US also looked at a small sport like cricket was, very, like their outlook was very different. If you had a team, you could go to the county and they would provide you a ground and
so
the
there's a path.
facilities. Exactly. And it's like the infrastructure and whatever support. So, and then, the whole family used to go and the uncles and all, even I used to play with them. And there used to be barbecue, there used to be beers, the
Wow.
children are out there. So it was like a perfect Sunday, spent well. Like the entire family is there, there's barbecue, live barbecue going on. And, elders are having fun. The mothers are there, the father and the son is playing cricket. So it was like a very different outlook to sports. So, and I realized after coming back to India, then there were so many problems in the football ecosystem. It was not at all organized. What we see right now is like, at least 5 times more organized than what it was in 2013,
True.
2014.
True.
Because that time it was only, when I started off, it was only, ex-players coming and training the children. There was no coach education as well. So your playing career, whatever you learned as a player, you were just trying to teach the children. There was no philosophy, no understanding of how to deal with children, the pedagogy, how they learn things and all. But then with that problem, I saw an opportunity that, there needs to be, because sports is going to grow and football is going to be bigger than cricket, at least in the metros. And it is not either or, like there are cricket fans who also follow football.
Correct.
And
True.
a lot has to, do with European football. So I knew that football was going to pick up, and that even FIFA and all, they were really looking at the Indian market very aggressively when Sunil Chetri also went to Kansas, and all those things. So I was confident that, within football also there would be a semi-corporate structure that would come in place.
Wow,
And
you
it
saw
was
this already.
yeah, and I also was lucky enough to work with IMG Reliance in 2016 and 2017. I worked with them for 2 years. So again, I was in football, but then I was, managing one of their biggest grassroots initiative, Reliance Foundation Youth Sports. So first year there were only 8 cities. Second year they grew to 16 cities. So
Yeah.
first year I was, the city head for Mumbai. Then a second year I was city head for Mumbai, and I helped them with Ahmedabad and Bangalore as well. So also the administrative part, I've been lucky enough to be a part of the, the corporate structure, the semi-corporate structure that does exist in football or in sports as well. So things would only get better, and it's, I thought that it would be like, I would have an upper hand to see the entire paradigm shift, from the inception of
Wow.
professionalism coming into sport. So that gives me a lot of perspective about how things were and how things are, and the amount of, things that
Change.
have changed and so much that we have improved upon. So I
That's
think,
lovely.
I think I'm really glad I took that decision, because if I would have not taken it then, I would have taken it now for sure.
But you were lucky to sort of take that call at an early stage. And since you spoke about seeing the coaching also at its inception and seeing it change and saw what it was missing, in your experience of coaching, and since you're currently working with AIFF as well, what is your take on the current module of training and coaching structure in the country? Like, do you think something better could be done? An initiative can be made according to you? What is needed?
Right, right. So, of course, from when what it was 10 years back. So, from the 2010 to 2020, Coach education was something that really evolved a lot. Coach education actually kicked off in 2011 with the D license program. Initially, also there were a C license, B license, and all, but that time it was like, your district association will nominate you. It was not open for anyone and everyone. So
Okay.
only if you had good relations with your district association, if you knew the people, and only then you could go and do your license. But then in 2011, with the introduction of D license and opening up coach educations for anyone and everyone, that really changed a lot. And now everything is online, so you don't have to know the right people or make the right calls. You just apply it online, right from your E license to your A license. Everything is online.
Wow.
So there's a lot of transparency in that way. It's very there's it's very transparent, and it's something that even it's purely onto competence. It's not connections anymore. So with
What about the
that,
structure?
yeah, so that's the structure. And also what happened was, initially it was, like I said, it was only limited to footballers. So that is why the football ecosystem was operating in a small silo, like, okay, हम लोग ही खेलेंगे, फिर हम लोग ही coaching करेंगे, हम लोग ही administrators बनेंगे. So
Wow.
it's so, I mean, I had this outlook from right from the start that okay, you love football, you are passionate about football, but that alone is not enough. If you want to run football, if you want to run an organization or a federation, association, whatever, you need a diverse team. You probably need someone who hasn't even played football in his life but understands marketing, or you need someone who hasn't even played football but understands finance, because you need to have a well balanced team. Of course, you need to have people who are passionate, but not only people who are passionate. As it might not sound good, but you also need people who can sell the sport to the right people and get in the funds that are needed,
It's important,
to,
definitely.
exactly, to drive other programs. So with that, a lot of people even from the engineering background started moving to coach education. And yes, I would agree that right now it's not the best. We have a long way to go. But if you ask me, has the coach education evolved the last 10 years? If something that has really improved a lot is, I think, coach education. And I think India has a very I mean, I think in the South Asia region, we have the most comprehensive coach education program.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
And who
yeah.
do you think is following the right module or set of rules, like you would say? Is it Odisha? Do you think it's the metropolitan cities like Mumbai? Which city is following the right baby steps to achieve that ultimate coaching structure or program?
Yeah, so as of now, the state associations do not have the right to amend anything. It's all centralized. So it all comes from the AIFF, and the state associations have to follow what AIFF has given. So there is no flexibility in that manner. So Karnataka cannot do coach education
Something
program
else.
in their own way. Maharashtra cannot do by their own way. Odisha cannot do. The only thing is what each state association does is, they plan it out, like, they make their calendar and they make the pathway. But what is done is centralized, and AIFF controls the whole thing, because even the state association do not have enough resources, or they don't have enough expertise to tailor make this coach education as per their own state requirement. But
True.
one small initiative that the AFF is doing is, diversifying it from just English to regional languages. So that's
Okay.
one thing that would help a lot of coaches, come up with. It will make it easier for them.
That's actually a good point, because how that's sort of bringing it as local and easy to implement and as easy to follow for people around. Because if you bring it in with high quality standards of English, and which is only suited to a certain niche, it won't grow. The sport won't grow. And for grassroots, you need basics of basics to be implemented and followed. And since we're talking about initiatives as well, I wanted to ask your opinion about initiatives such as TAL, even like apart from grassroots. What are your thoughts on having such initiatives like the amateur league? How does it help in player development and of the skill itself?
Right. So, now the whole definition of grassroots, by the way, has changed. Initially, we used to think whatever, children's football was grassroots. That was the initial philosophy. But with the new technical director at the Asian Football Confederation, he was with UEFA. So now the definition of grassroots is anything that's not elite or not professional is grassroots. So,
Okay.
your amateur leagues are grassroots, your veterans tournaments are grassroots, beach football usually is grassroots. So now the spectrum of grassroots has really broadened up.
Okay.
So, especially with tournaments like TAL, it's a very good complementing factor to the entire ecosystem, of course, because apart from the players, even coaches, because every time when we talk about more matches, we only talk about players, but even our coaches need more game time, so that's when even they improve. And apart from coaches, even the referees, because if there are fresh referees, if there are referees who have just come in and joined and made their just cleared their level 5, so even they need exposure. And
And
these
experience.
tournaments are like perfect for even them to develop, even for coaches. So matches are very, very important even for coaches and for referees, not just the players. So then apart from that, you have your administrative side as well. So a lot of people these days are into sports management. Even they want hands-on experience of what it's like to run a
Manage a
league.
team.
What are the finances involved, how do you market it, what is the logistics, administrative duties. So it becomes a small ecosystem in its own, and everything and anything you do in the grassroots ecosystem always connects. So again, like a small example is because of, say for example, the amateur league, you guys also book grounds, and now there is a demand for grounds, and now with that, so that's what I said, the whole astroturf culture has come in because of actually the European fan following. So the people who follow European football, and the fan following increase, the craze for football increase, but ultimately they have to consume locally. So like a Manchester United supporter will not go to Manchester and play. He has to play in Bangalore, or he has to play in Mumbai. So that's where there was a demand, and a lot of the youth started getting jobs, and the corporate people also wanted to play. So that's where all these turfs started popping up, and now grassroots. I mean, the children can there are so many grassroots academies that are now also coming up in these turfs. So nobody put a turf saying ki हाँ यहाँ पे आके एक दिन बच्चे training करेंगे. It was never like that. It was a byproduct of something else. So even anything and everything you do does the dots do connect in some or the other way. So like I mentioned, players don't get enough time because the leagues that are organized, most of the associations and most of the federations are not in the capacity to run leagues that last like 8 to 10 months. So the players, they play 2-3 months of the official state league, and then they have a few months of leagues which are privately organized. So, and same for the referees. So if you see, even these referees, some of them are working full time in football. So even for them to have income, regular source of income around the year, it is very important that there is football activity around the year, because only I mean, it has to be decentralized. Only the state or only the association cannot do everything at once, especially when we know that funding is one of the prime things that we lack. One of the most important things that the sports as a whole is not doing that well yet.
But
So
don't you think that, sorry for interrupting. No,
no, no,
continue.
no, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
No, but since you spoke about having the calendar, like calendar especially, and not having enough tournaments and matches, don't you think that more importance should be given to this, especially at the grassroots level? Because if players don't get that needed exposure at the initial level, how will they be able to build their skills or have that solid foundation to decide that they want to take it up professionally? Because players, at least now in India, it's not at their initial days that they know that they're going to take it up professionally. It's usually at a time where they should be in their peak already. So don't you think that the federation should start taking initiatives to have more matches, more jam-packed calendars, at least for weekends? For like baby league was one that they initiated. Should they have more of such things? What are your thoughts on that? Why don't
Yeah.
they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, the thing is, the entire again, I keep repeating, the entire ecosystem is not that mature, because if you look at the clubs also, even the clubs, most of the clubs, if not all, most of the clubs are not even financially sustainable. They are usually run and owned by people who are passionate and who actually have a job, and they out of passion divert some of their funds. So
Okay.
even for them, a league that lasts for 3-4 months is okay. They can financially sustain it. But if the league lasts 9 months, we have to even ask like how many even the clubs can sustain it. So even the clubs are not up to the mark yet. There are some clubs who can do it, but not all. And of course, even the associations, there is a lot of manpower involved, and not all the associations are blessed with their own ground and the other logistical cost.
Sure.
So one thing is, of course, the will to do it, which I am sure, I mean, some of the associations do have. But then ultimately, where it narrows down is, a longer league requires a longer budget. I mean, a bigger budget as well.
Budget.
And then you cannot charge heavy amounts again on the clubs, because what happens is, like, genuine clubs and genuine so there are, when I was working in Delhi, I saw that there are so many clubs who are, like, doing a lot, but they don't have like a rich owner, so they can only afford so much. And we cannot gauge someone's contribution by how deep their pockets are. So it is, I mean, the entire ecosystem would slowly grow. Even the clubs would start becoming profitable. So now most of the clubs, even in Mumbai, most of the clubs, the owners pay from their own pocket. So can you hear me? I
Yeah, I
just got
can
a
hear you.
notification, internet unstable. Okay. So most of the clubs also are, like, owned by individuals, and they put money from their own pocket. But if the uh, tomorrow, if the league says, okay, it's not going to be 4 months, it's going to be 9 months. So 9 months paying the players allowance, 9 months of practice sessions,
Training.
because again you need to book the ground for your practice sessions,
True.
9 months of coach's salary. So we really need to ask, like, is the entire ecosystem ready to handle a 9-month long league, not just the organizers? So again, in that way, and association is different from a private league. Private league, tomorrow if your club cannot, I mean, if the next season one club cannot afford it, okay, you take a break for 1 year and join us again the year after that. But when it comes to the official league, there are a set of rules, because they are a member of the association, they have a voting right. And then then there is relegation and all that. So there are so many things that come in the mix. So ultimately, yes, uh, the duration of the league is growing, but it is growing at a slower pace,
Slower pace.
and it will grow organically. So there is no need to give any steroids, because it will always come at a cost of someone else's money. And
That's a good
that
point.
is not a sustainable, because 2 years, 3 years you can do a 8-9 month league, but the fourth, fifth year, that passion really starts to go down once you are putting money from your own pockets every year after year. And we don't want clubs who are just coming with deep pockets. We also want clubs who are making who are trying their best to make it financially sustainable as much as they can.
No, good point. And I think I completely understand what you're trying to say. And it's not something that we should completely point fingers towards. It's something that should grow organically, and we should be ready to take that big step when the time is like called for. But
Yep.
since we're talking about grassroots for like we were looking at, I think for men especially, what about when we talk about women? Like I know things are changing now for women as well, but we still see a lack of awareness when it comes to women's football. Do women actually know what they're going to get out of playing? Is it something just like, oh, my friends are playing, my coach just asked me to play, should I just join? What
Yeah.
challenges are there that need to be overcome for women's football?
Right. And like you rightly mentioned, one thing is, people talk about a lot is are the lack of opportunities. Of course, there are lack of opportunities, but that's not the only factor, because if you look at metros, even if you look in Thane right now, where I am, we
Mhm.
have a football academy for girls. We have a girls batch. We have a female coach as well. But still, there are girls. It's below their building, but they are not coming. It's not because of the lack of opportunities. There are so many other things, like you mentioned. What are the incentives? There has to be an
Yeah,
incentive mechanism as well, so they know, okay, if I play sport, this is something I would get out of it. And even parents should be aware, like,
absolutely.
if my daughter starts playing football, she would grow up to become a more confident woman, and she might not become a footballer, because thousands of children play football, probably only one would make it as a footballer.
Like
But
another
all the
Chauhan or something.
thousand children who play, they get some really important life skills, some soft skills, confidence, public
Team
speaking,
building.
how to teamwork, so many things. So it is imperative that we raise the awareness, especially with the parents. Like, there are so many incentives, of other than just sporting incentives. There are so many other things that that the children learn, and especially girls, because you want, uh, like now, there with so much awareness, the girls can speak up. There are so many researches where where it shows that the girls who have been involved in sport,
Mhm.
they have a higher chance of not getting married before the age of 17 or 16,
Wow.
because they can speak up. They can speak up sometimes even against their own parents. And I mean, as harsh as it may sound, it is needed at times, because especially when you go to rural areas. I was working in Odisha, and in some of the districts.
Mhm.
So there you could see, like, the girls get so much confidence. And otherwise, how our socio-cultural issues are. The girls are only supposed to receive information and not give it back. So
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
is something, sports has the power to break it. Tomorrow, a girl can be a leader and lead a team of, men. I mean, it's already happening, but we want to see more of it. It's not happening enough. Having women at top level positions. So that's something, from the early ages only, unconsciously we or subconsciously we keep putting it, even in the girl child as well as the boys. Like, even at the early age, the boys can also think, oh wow, she plays better than me. So when
Yeah.
he is 25 or 30, the boy won't have an ego ki how is a girl outperforming him, and then think about all the other
So
things.
true.
So it has to be inculcated from the. So tolerance is one of the most important things, that the sport, mixed gender sports. So until the age of 12, boys and girls are supposed to play together, because there are no differences at all. It's only after puberty the hormonal changes come in place, and
Then there's
that's
a
when the
difference.
girls and the boys start practicing differently. But until the age of 12, it's mixed gender. So the children are supposed to be divided based on their competence and based on their skills, not on their gender. So,
Beautiful.
it sounds small, but it has a very
No, no,
significant role to
it
play,
is. It is.
in the overall tolerance of the society and acceptance of the gender. And, and from an early age, children will understand कि, मेरे को substitute किया और वो लड़की को अंदर खेला because she is better than me,
Better.
because she deserves to be there. And that's a big message that has to be uh, communicated to the children from an early age. And it's not like you sit and take lectures and you gender sensitization nahi kar rahe. It's like via play we do that, and that's the best part about sports, any team sport for that matter.
Absolutely. And it's something that we need to inculcate now. And I think you beautifully put it also, that we need to eradicate this whole gender bias, especially when it comes to sports, at least in the initial stages, so that we don't grow up with this stigma saying that, oh, a girl and a guy can't be in the same team, we can't play in the same team. And I think more emphasis or more importance should be given to the coaches imbibing this in their students in the initial days. And I think there's one thing that I wanted to ask you also about coaches. Like, what is the difference between being a coach and being an instructor? Is there a big difference when it comes to a sport, or is it only for a different field? What is it?
Yeah. Before I answer that, can I add another point to the
Yes,
previous
yes.
one?
Yes.
So also, apart from the incentives and the other things that we need to tell the parents about, why should they put their girls in sports, any team sport? Apart from that, like when you mentioned it, just click. Even if you see, we have not created a lot of female heroes. Like, the Indian women's team, we need to glorify them even more. Like right now, Indian people are only talking about Sunil Chhetri and Baichung Bhutia.
But not like another teacher.
Nobody's talking enough about Dalima Chibbar, about Anju Tamang, about Aditi. We have to give them what they deserve, and they deserve to be the heroes. They are the heroes. They are the best in the country. So we need to have more role models as well, which the girls look up to. The reason why in the US, girls football is growing so much, because they have so many heroes. Their women's team is kicking. I mean, it's doing really well, even better than their men's team. Yeah. So that is a very, very big social, at the social level, it's a big message. Like, our girls are doing so much better at the world stage than our women's team is doing so much better at the world stage than our men's team. So that kind of, we need to have those kind of role models as well, which the young girls really look up to. Like, yes, I want to play like Dalima, or I want to keep like Aditi, or play like other there's so many, like Bala is there now, who's already playing in Scotland. So we need to have more role models as well,
and even support women who are abroad, like Drishti Bagchi, who's right now abroad in Spain. She's also playing. So we need to support girls who are also on that trajectory and that path.
Correct. And Bangalore is a hotspot for girls football.
Yeah. And they're taking a lot of initiatives now.
Yep. Even the women's league, I heard, was really well organized.
Yes. So things like this, girls get more exposure, and I think they also feel confident that we can get into the sport, because it's otherwise uncertain. Like, okay, if I get into this, where do I fall back on? Not all the girls know that sports actually can secure you a government job. Not all girls know that playing a sport is not just playing on the field, but you can have a work-life balance. You can work also post your games, post your career. So we need to also imbibe that security, that mental stability, that it's not, you don't have to be afraid of anything. So I think you rightly mentioned that.
Yeah, and apart from that, even all the girls who have played in the Bangalore League, most of them, if tomorrow, even if they are not footballers, they are in a corporate job, and if they see something's not right, they will speak up. And they will not just, what the society had already, already always tries to put is like, okay, if I've said this, just do it. So, and girls sometimes they're like, okay, fine, we'll do whatever you say. But now, it empowers them to speak up for what they feel. Even if it's right or wrong is secondary. The problem is they don't speak up in the first place. Right, whether you decided whatever you decided was right or wrong is secondary. There are so many guys who make mistakes. Men have made mistakes. That's why there are so many wars in the world. So that's the thing. We have to break the ice, and at least encourage. So that's the number one awareness. Like, the soft skills and the social skills and the life skills that girls get from any team sport is very, very, very important to shape to shape tomorrow's society. And we need more women in top positions to make this world a better place.
I know, absolutely. I really like that point. That's actually such a valid and humorous point of view to look at it, because yeah, I mean, we don't see any wars being started by women, but yeah, we do need sheroes in sports for women, for India especially. And I think as and when the years go by, we will see that. And like I said, it's important for parents and coaches to imbibe these values and talk about it more often. That's how it's like spread. So back to my question about what are the differences between a coach and an instructor, like since you've experienced both, can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yes, sure. So initially when I was coaching, so I was also having my own academy, and I used to even mentor my coaches in my own academy. So then I thought, okay, I am already instructing and all. So when I slowly started shifting in 2018 is when I became a D certificate instructor. So I thought ki, it would be similar when I'm already a good coach, so I know how to teach people how to coach. But then when I actually did the course in September 2018, that's when I realized, like, there are some differences which are very unique, like, in which as an instructor, especially when you have to start and assess other coaches. And
Okay.
because assessment is something that is comes with instructing. So when you are a coach, you are only thinking about your team, and about your players, and then how good the players are, and as per that you come up with solutions. But here, when you are dealing with coaches, you really have to zoom out and give them a bigger perspective, because what is going to happen is each coach, it's not like, okay, I give you a ready made template, and okay, you know what, if your team is आपके टीम को डिफेंस में प्रॉब्लम है तो ये ले लो, ये प्रिस्क्रिप्शन
Oh,
है
okay,
मेरा,
okay.
ये
There's no
प्रिस्क्रिप्शन, इट्स
right
नॉट दैट.
model. Correct.
Because your, like, say for example, Sunaina's team has different external factors than my team.
Absolutely.
So I only can tell you, okay, this is what is football, but how your team plays, it's up to you. So I cannot
Absolutely.
tell you the how, I can only tell you what. Okay, this is what football is, and these are the principles of football. And the what does not change, what football is does not change, as long as the laws of the game or something drastically doesn't change. So what football is, principally, there are some objective references, and that is something that we educate to coaches, and how they how they implement or apply those objective references based on their external factors is the art of coaching. So
Okay.
that's what it's so different. So with players, I'm only focusing on how they play football, because I know my external factors. I know mera league sirf 2 mahine ka hai, so that's how I will train them for their fitness level. If Sunaina's league is going to last for 6 months, then how you train football is going to be very different than
Different.
mine.
Absolutely.
So when as an instructor, I have classrooms where it's very different. And so now we really zoom out, and we tell the coaches, like, there is no copy paste. Like, you go on YouTube, you'll get tens of thousands of exercises and football activities, but then that is someone else's solution. Your problem is unique to your everyone has a own problem, and coaching is nothing but problem solving. So you analyze a problem in the match or in training. Okay, this is a problem with my team. Then you come up with a solution, and then you implement the solution. So that's what coaching is. Coaching is problem solving. But
Wow.
you cannot be rigid in taking someone else's solution to your problem, because chances are that's not your problem in the first place. I cannot just say, Acha, what Sunaina did Bangalore, Acha, send me your session plan and I'll do the same
I'll do the
session
same.
plan,
You
because
can't.
that does not work.
Because
So
players are also different.
exactly, players are different, the other external factors are different. That's what we call the external factors. The league, the time of the season, whether it's pre-season, during season, post-season. Then you don't know when Sunaina conducted that session, uske ek din pehle was probably a day off, so the players were fresh, that's why they could do it in that intensity or whatever. So here, that's what we try and tell our coaches when it comes to coach education. And when it's players, we are like, it's not 100 things. We just see, okay, we analyze the team, and okay, this is what I have, these are the players that I have, these are the strengths and the weaknesses, so this is how I will train them. So with the players, it's mainly coaching is mainly how I train football, and coach education is educating the coaches of what football is, the principles, the objective references, because the attacking principles or the defending principles would not change, because in that's what football is like,
True.
this is what football is, that won't change. Universally we all are playing the same sport, but how we are playing the sport depends. Like how Brazil plays, it's very different than how Argentina plays, than how India plays. And that's why even India has to come up with their own philosophy soon. We cannot just keep copying.
Copying outsiders because they're different.
Yeah,
The players' structures are different. The bodies are
yeah.
different. Climate is
Flavor of the
different.
month. We cannot copy the flavor of the month.
So true, so true. I think that's a very good point, and you very well spoke about how they're different and even the uniqueness in both. So I think you've also had a taste of both worlds and
Yes.
seen it gradually grow from inception to where it is now. And I think you'll want to be in it till you see Thane FC like go to the highest level of their games.
Yeah, and I always say, like, coaches are artists. It's a creative job. It's not that even in coach education courses, it's not something that you will learn and okay, अच्छा मैं ये सीख के अभी मैं ये implement करूँगा. No, we just teach you what it is all about. And I show, even if I am conducting a session, I conduct a session and I tell them, okay, this because of this, and your reason might be different. So what we do is we even give them a reasoning. So, and then if that matches your reason, then it's okay. But again, otherwise, each coach has to be creative enough to solve problems, because everyone has unique external factors, unique problems, unique opportunities even. So you
So
have
true.
to, coaches are artists. That's what I
Wow.
keep saying.
That's a very nice line. I think that's a very nice line, and every coach would resonate with that.
Yeah,
And I mean, before we end this session, I wanted to ask you one personal question in your career. So, can you tell me one most memorable moment in your career as a coach, instructor? Which side you've had the best memory from?
Yeah, I think it was when I was working in Football Delhi. It was 15th of July 2018, I think. Yeah, it was the World Cup final. And that's when we had launched the Golden Baby League. That was a grassroots initiative of Football Delhi, the state association. And that was also my first project. So
Wow.
I had already worked with the Reliance, and we did a grassroots league, which was at the national level. But why this was special was, over when I was with Reliance, I was the one in the implementation team. So it was already conceptualized, and there was a lot of research then, and I was in the ops team. So here with Football Delhi's Golden Baby League, right from the inception to the planning phase to the execution, I was involved. And what I really liked, it was one of the most unique leagues in India, because usually all the leagues for children, it's like they say, okay, winners get 3 points. If it's a draw, you get 1 point. If you lose the game, you go home with zero.
Zero.
So there are so many teams which throughout the season they do not win any matches. They do not even win one match, and पूरा 3 महीने के बाद they still are, if they look at the table, they are still zero.
That's
So
disheartening.
what we thought was, we start incentivizing even fair play. So the point system is something that was very unique, and I think it was first of its kind in India, where each goal you score, you get 1 point. For every girl in your team, you get 1 point. So say, for example, yeah, because we knew that the problem was coaches were not fielding girls, because they used to think कि अरे यार नहीं ये लड़की चली जाएगी, फिर हम लोग we'll concede a goal and we might lose. So we thought like okay, we have to even now start incentivizing female participation. So now say for example, if your team is playing against mine, and out of 5 players your team has 3, my team has all 5 boys, so we already start the match with 3-0.
Wow.
So you already have 3 points, and for every goal I score, I get 1 point. For every green card, so if a child has tripped someone else down, so he says sorry and he picks him up, so that's a green card. So no
Oh,
yellow card, no red cards, that's a green card. So that was an act of fair play, so you give 1 point for that. Players code of conduct gets you 2 points. Coaches code of conduct gets you 2 points. Parents code of conduct
wow.
gets you 2 points.
It's a
So
big
end
point
of the day,
system.
of course, the team that usually scores more goals ends up winning. But if it's a close game, like if the game ends 5-4, then all these other factors also come in place, and all the games end up with score lines like 10-14 or 12-8, something. So there's no
So
zero.
there's no zero. It's not disheartening.
Yes, yes. So, and even the children discuss, Arey, today, today Anjali is not coming, so we will miss 1 point. And so now the entire everything starts changing. And even if when a child picks someone up, bhale he's doing it for the point, but then there are so many other people who watch that, and so many
So
things that
true.
we observe and learn. So ultimately it becomes a habit,
Yeah.
and that's how we inculcate so many habits from an early age. So there is no shouting to the referees. Even coaches, we tell them, like, okay, the decisions can go against your team, and it's okay, let the referees make mistake, because these are all young referees and they are freshers. So because what happens usually is children grow up watching their coaches shout at the referees, and
Yeah.
guess what the child will do when he's 13 and 14?
Oh, okay, okay.
He will
So
shout at the referees. That's why you see players also shout at referees, and also because
yes,
that's what they have been uh, you know
seeing.
grown up observing. So these were the small things, and that's what made this league very unique. And I think we were the only state association to have a league like this. And even the parents loved it, the coaches loved it, even the coaches, because there are so many coaches who want to give girls an opportunity, a chance, but then parents shout at them ki sir hum log har ek match haar rahe hain. So even coaches are sometimes not able to do that. So even with us giving in some incentives for female participation, for fair play, for code of conduct, for playing styles, and so many other things. All the coaches could actually, and we could see that every coach was then trying to find one or two girls, or they used to ask their
Come and
friends to
play.
get girls.
Lovely.
Yeah. So, and from
Wow.
the second or the third year, we were going to make it compulsory to have at least two girls in your teams, in your team.
Okay.
So that was unique, and that was when it kicked off. I was so happy, and to actually see it, because planning तक सब कुछ ठीक था, क्या है क्या नहीं है, but when you actually see, and when the week one का scorecard comes in, then next Sunday का, so it went on for like I think 8-10 Sundays. So
Wow.
the scores used to come in, and we could see the scores 18-22, and it was
How
very nice. There was
exciting.
no 0 and no 3. Even the points table was 172, and the last team is 114. So even they're
So
like,
it's
okay,
not such a, yeah,
yeah, yeah, and they're like not zero, na, because we don't want to send children back home with a zero.
very
Then we
smart.
had a comprehensive scouting program as well, in which at the end of the game, because we knew we cannot scout, we don't have the funds to send scouts for every game. So what we did was, there are only two people observing the entire match. One is the referee, and the other one are the coaches. So these are the guys who observe the game. So at the end of the every match, we ask the referees to nominate two best players. So he would write two best
Oh,
players, and we would ask the opponent coaches to also nominate. So I would nominate one player from your team, and you would nominate one player from my team. So after every match, we got four names, and over the period of 10 months, we could see the number of times those names were repeated,
repeated.
and it was all about then putting it on an Excel, and giving it a point system. So end of the 10-month league, 10-week league, we could also have like a comprehensive data, like with point system of the top 10, top 20, top 50 players.
Superb.
But
No
of
wonder
course, it
it's so
was
memorable.
subjective, but at least we were able to quantify it.
No,
Because
but at
even if,
least it's some data you've got.
yeah, exactly. And if there are, because every time there are different referees and different coaches. So if even Sunena has said, okay, what, that player Rohit, Then the next match, even the referee said, no, this player Rohit. And then the other coach also mentioned Rohit.
Rohit.
So you automatically see that name repeated, and how many ever times the name is repeated, they get so many points. So that's how, we also got the scouting system in place without any additional resource involved. This was just like a jugaad, So yeah, I mean, that was one of my best moments, 15th July 2018, when we actually kicked this league off.
Superb. And I think we should see more of this point system, especially for young kids. It sounds exciting from the way you're talking about it, and I'm sure kids also loved it themselves, apart from parents and coaches. I'm sure kids themselves had a great time seeing points at every game. No matter what the results might have been, they still were excited about the next game because something more could have happened, because they're not lagging behind too far.
Correct.
It was lovely.
Absolutely.
It was lovely.
And even the parents loved it. So parents are also more aware. So we had, placards, and we had some infographics, which we used to keep sending the coaches to send it to the parents, because, if the league structure is in place, and then it becomes easier for even coaches to deal with parents, because the coaches and the parents also, coaches have a lot of pressure even from the parents.
True.
So even us as the league organizers, we thought it was our duty as well to, ease the coaches' job as much as possible. And then we had parent volunteers. So each team even needs to have one parent volunteer. So who would act as an assistant coach, and every week it would change. So it makes the coach's job also easy. Then that parent volunteer would get in the snacks, or he would do the paperwork. So the parent volunteer will get the children and the team to the registration desk, while the coach is busy doing something else. So we had as a league, we wanted to make sure that we have everything in place that would complement, and that would enhance the coach and parents relation,
and
get parents
also
more involved.
So lovely. I think, Prashant, this is one of the best memorable moments I've heard. It's really nice, and such a nice initiative also that was taken for like your federation as well. And I think we should see more of this, like I said. So thank you, and thank you so much for giving us your time to talk about all of this. It was a lot of fun, especially for me. And thank you for sharing everything that you've experienced.
Thank you so much. It was fun, and I hope I answered all your questions.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my God, it was more than enough. So thank you.